Before you start the video, I have one thing to make very clear. I did not steal this idea from Shayfrillis, okay? The tweet announcing that I was working on this video was released on November 19th, 2025. I've been working on this video for a very long time. Shayfrillis' Adam Sandler ranking, where he simply joked about making a Crystal the Monkey ranking, came out on December 19th, 2025. I almost had a heart attack while watching that video, and thanked the gods that he was just joking. I am the true #1 Crystal the Monkey fan, and that fraud of a crab has nothing on me. Alright, now that that's out of the way, welcome. Crystal the Monkey is a capuchin monkey who is commonly considered one of the greatest animal actors of all time, blah blah blah. I consider her to be the greatest actress of all time instead of just animal actress, but we can't all be correct, I suppose. Crystal has appeared in 25 feature films across her star-studded career, and it is quite the lineup. Her filmography ranges from boring kid slop to Oscar-nominated masterpieces, and she's even appeared in a Bollywood feature, which very few American actresses can attest to. She's also appeared in many TV shows and a single MCU short for some reason. These are not included in the video for obvious reasons. Well, with that done, let's finally get into the first movie on our list, and god damn it, I have to talk about Hop.
Sonic, you are not edgy enough to compete with him. Do not chase him.
I don't want to spend too much time on Hop. I feel like it's been talked about way too much, and I don't have a lot to add. Eevee is one of the most annoying main characters I've ever seen in anything. The movie has a lot of casual racism. It's annoying, it's not funny. Hop is terrible. You know it's terrible. I don't have a lot more to say. I will give my headcanon on James Marsden though. In my mind, after he got killed by Jean Grey in X-Men The Last Stand, he got sent to hell, aka Hop 2011. Once he became the Easter Bunny, he uses his powers to escape this cursed movie and ends up in Sonic the Hedgehog 2020. Oh, and he just kind of forgot that he's a mutant. Whoopsies. Oh, and Crystal the Monkey? Yeah, apparently she's in this movie, but I'm gonna be real and say I never spotted her. It might have been because I zoned out and didn't see her, or she was just a background monkey. I don't know, and I can't find any information about her world online because I seem to be the only one in the world who cares about her this much. Weirdly enough, Hop is not listed as a part of her filmography on Wikipedia, even though it is on IMDb, TMDb, Letterboxd, pretty much everywhere else. She might just not be in the movie. I don't know, I'm not rewatching Hop to find out.
I guess you don't get out much, huh?
Look, I haven't seen any of the Air Bud or Buddies films since I was a child. Even as a child, I think I watched Super Buddies and that's it. I just remember a dog stretching itself to dunk a basketball. Maybe it was psychosis. So taking that into consideration, if Treasure Buddies is an example of this franchise's quality, I'm just saying that I'm not lining up to see Air Bud Returns in theaters. Where do I start with this movie? Well, the most obvious fact about it is that it's blindingly racist. It might be even worse than Aladdin, and I didn't even think that was possible. And the worst part is that the voice they give my beloved Crystal the Monkey is one of the most stereotypical Arab accents I've ever heard in my life. I wanted to enjoy my cherished simian, but I simply couldn't when this was the voice coming out of her beautiful vocal cords.
That is a very special story.
But outside of that glaring flaw, Treasure Buddies is a terrible children's film from the early 2010s. I mean, I didn't expect anything more. I don't think anyone looks at the poster and expects the experience to be life-changing, but maybe it could have been more charming at least. Just because a movie is made for kids doesn't mean you get to phone it in. Just because your target demographic has no idea what an axe murderer is doesn't mean you get to not write a script. Though, to be fair, early in their film, Butterball says he's never eaten a bug. They're gross. But then later in the film, he eats a bug and says it's yummy. Man, that is such good character development. Never mind. I think this film's biggest strength is the fact that dogs are cute. I mean, I genuinely smiled when one of the dogs was rolling around in the sand. Now, the terrible dialogue and never-ending quibs were enough to slap that smile right down to Australia, but still, I genuinely loved the shot where a door falls behind the dogs and all 5 of them look over their shoulders. I had to rewind it like 3 times. I really enjoyed it. More positives. I guess the movie is against grave robbing? Bold stance, I know. Alright, let's talk about the weird shit in this movie. While the dogs are at the bazaar, they find a camel who wants to go back to its mom but is being held hostage by this evil man. She is possibly the most annoying voice of all time.
That mean human stole me from my mother.
Also, her name is Cammy, which is extremely funny to me. When is Crystal the Monkey being added to Street Fighter 6? There is a real scene in this movie where a rapper dog beatboxes while a fire-breathing CGI snake named Slither tries to hypnotize a Buddhist dog. These are just the facts, people. In the same Zelda dungeon where the CGI snake appeared in, there's a puzzle where you have to hop across this bridge of tiles, but some will make you fall into a snake pit and some are solid. On the tiles are hieroglyphics, which Rosebud, the girl dog, helpfully points out to the audience. Now with all this information, Rosebud perfectly hops across the bridge without falling. What? Is it just me, or does that not make any sense? The film never explains why these are the hieroglyphs that mean the floor is solid. It just points out the fact that hieroglyphs exist, and that's all Rosebud needs to hop across. And the worst part is that the scene happens again, but with the human characters. So I thought they might explain it this time, but no. All that happens is that a man falls into a snake pit and dies, I guess? We never see this man again. There is a canonical death in Treasure Buddies. But what's even stranger is that in a later scene, CGI statue cats, don't question it, jump onto the bridge, and the hole the man fell through is gone, even though the hole one of the dogs almost fell through isn't? Was it a hallucination? Did they time travel? Or is this a simple editing mistake because nobody cared about this movie? The world may never know. Even though the dogs are cute, this movie is so anti-cat. Fuck you! I have 6 beautiful cats, and they are my babies. You dare speak malice about these beautiful creatures, these creatures that I love? How dare you? The end of the movie goes for an Ark of the Covenant thing, because if you didn't realize that this is just a blatant ripoff of Indiana Jones, get better eyes, I guess. But instead of face-melting practical effects or even CGI alien disintegration, which also sucks, when the villain cat puts on the necklace of Cleopatra, again, don't question it, she turns into a statue. The film then explains that there was a failsafe in case an evil cat wore it and wanted to take over the world. So that's why she's a statue now. Yes, that does mean there were no stakes at all. Why do you ask? I mean, I get it. I also put evil cat failsafes onto all my valuables. They may be babies, but they're also secret murderers just waiting to be unleashed. Who knows what they do with my copy of Space Chimps on Wii? Honestly, even though there's a lot of insane shit that happens in this film, I wouldn't really recommend it as a so bad it's good movie. Trust me, this video will have plenty of those, but Treasure Buddies is just way too boring to be enjoyable. There is way too much filler, and the constant quips from the dogs get so infuriating, it's not worth watching. Sorry Treasure Buddies, you're a worse version of Morbius.
You can use your big foot. Hit him with the big foot kick.
Total Dommel, the 3rd film in the Dommel series. There are 4 other movies on this list that are sequels to movies that do not have Crystal the Monkey in them, and in 2 of those cases I decided to watch the original entries in order to get the gist. But much like Treasure Buddies, in this case I didn't deem it necessary, for 2 reasons. 1, Total Dommel is a reboot of the series and has pretty much nothing to do with the first 2 entries, and 2, who the fuck is gonna care about me not watching Dommel? Well, maybe a few. The first movie actually has pretty positive reviews across the board, so maybe one day I'll check it out. But for now, we're not talking Dommel, we're talking Total Dommel. And Total Dommel is really something. The entire film has the same vibe as one of those kids channels on YouTube like Brent Rivera. It's just constant, never-ending noise. There's always something happening, there's no time at all for breaks. It is so exhausting to watch. Pretty much every scene in this movie is just characters distracted by something and doesn't notice that something crazy is happening behind them. The other character keeps trying to warn them, but the character is just so distracted until, oh my god. Even though this is a comedy, I only laughed at one singular joke. There's this guy who's taking over a zoo and says all the animals will be transferred elsewhere. When the zookeeper asks where, the guy says, heaven. That's pretty fun. I also did laugh at Crystal the monkey holding a man at gunpoint, but I don't know if I can give the film too much credit for that. This movie is really, really ugly. Pretty much every scene takes place in front of a green screen, and there's so much disgusting CGI. Look at these gorillas. What the fuck? For some reason, halfway through the film, a music video starts playing. No, not a musical section, like an actual music video that has no relation to the plot at all starts playing. Maybe it's a cultural thing? I have not seen very many Bollywood films. I need to expand my repertoire, but I have not yet. I know Ajay Devgan, who plays the main character, is a pretty huge Bollywood star, and I definitely recognize him. I don't know, my thing with this type of film is that it needs to be shorter. Outside of The Fabelmans, which has a reason to be pretty long, Total Dommel was the second longest movie on this entire list, which is just ridiculous. And it's not like there's an excuse for it being so lengthy. The pacing is god-awful. So many scenes last forever. They spend so much time building up to a single joke that it completely loses all impact when it finally arrives. When it takes a character over a minute to realize that an angry CGI gorilla is behind him, I'm not gonna laugh when he finally does notice. The worst part is that this film took me forever to find online. The other two Dommel movies are widely available on Tubi, but Total Dommel isn't even available to rent anywhere. I could not find it on any of the websites I usually use, and I was this close to just ordering a DVD of the film off eBay or something. Thankfully, I was able to find a version I could watch online. Sure, it's in like 240p, and the English subtitles are obviously just done in Google Translate and are full of typos, but whatever, I got the gist. Don't watch Total Dommel, just watch the Dommel movie people seem to actually like, the first one. Sure, it doesn't have Crystal the monkey, but even she couldn't save this one.
I guess it makes it easier for a bear to find you.
Dr. Dolittle 2 is everything I expected Dr. Dolittle 1 to be. A stupid, obnoxious family movie with little to offer for people older than 9. The first Dr. Dolittle wasn't anything amazing, but even I'm insulted that they had the gall to release this in theaters. At least Dolittle 3 and onwards were direct-to-video releases that at least feels a bit more justified. Also, no, I'm not talking about those films because despite being on all 3's posters for some reason, Crystal the monkey is not in those movies. There's a monkey, but it's very clearly not the woman of the hour. Anyway, Dr. Dolittle 2 basically has the exact same plot as Ice Age 3 and Rio. Dolittle has to get two bears to fuck each other because the girl bear is the last of her kind, so he has to bring in a circus bear and train him so that he can release him into the wild. Ignoring the obvious inbreeding problems this brings on board, I just don't understand why this is such a common kids movie premise. The circus bear is voiced by Steve Zahn, and he is so annoying. In fact, every single animal in this movie is annoying except for the Norm Macdonald dog. But unlike the first film, where he's basically the co-lead, he has absolutely nothing to do in this film. They give him a subplot where he wants to fuck this lady wolf, and this subplot gets like 3 scenes in the entire film to develop. The dog gets overshadowed hard by this bumbling, incoherent bear, and I hate his guts. At least the Chris Rock guinea pig isn't in this movie, and I really hope that he's canonically dead in this universe. He's replaced by this iguana, and well, he's still pretty annoying, but at least he isn't voiced by Chris Rock. I'll get into it later, obviously, but the biggest strength of the first film is Eddie Murphy's charisma. And Dr. Dolittle 2, it's not that Murphy is any less charming as an actor, it's just that his material absolutely blows. The drama with his wife and 16-year-old daughter is so cliche and boring and annoying, and I don't care. The stuff with his wife isn't even resolved. It's not mentioned at all during the climax. What was the point of this? I guess it ties into the Steve Zahn bear trying to fuck the lady bear, but who gives a shit? The villains are terrible, they're completely unthreatening, and they're barely even characters. They want to tear down this forest for business reasons, and for some reason Dr. Dolittle getting these two bears to fuck each other is somehow going to stop them from doing that. I don't know. For the first hour and 10 minutes, this movie was so painful to get through. I was hating my time and was kind of expecting to give this a 2 out of 10. But then, the ending changed my tune a little bit. When the Steve Zahn bear is framed for doing a crime and gets sent to bear prison, Dolittle has an eyewitness that can prove the bear was innocent. Sadly, the witness is a weasel. The judge tells Dolittle to not make a mockery of his courtroom, and now the forest is for sure getting destroyed. So what Dolittle does is gather up all the animals in the world and tells them to go on strike. Suddenly, the cows aren't producing milk, the chickens aren't laying eggs, racehorses aren't racing, orcas aren't jumping through hoops, and dogs won't catch any more frisbees. This proves that animals are sentient and they've won the case. This is hilarious. That's such a funny concept, and I feel like they should have made the entire movie about it. So that was great, and there's some pretty decent slapstick with the villains afterwards. I still really do not like Dr. Dolittle 2, but the ending is amazing and saved the film from the dreaded 2 out of 10 score. There was a pretty charming Arnold Schwarzenegger cameo as well. Oh, I forgot to mention how Crystal was in this film. She was fine. I'm not going to call her character annoying like 90% of the other creatures in this movie, but she was barely in it, and her character was a lot better in Dr. Dolittle 1. I'm also really upset at this film because it has turtle sex in it. I thought that all movies with turtle sex in them were good, and this film, it broke my heart.
Maybe balances the universe out a bit. Wait, is this Failure to Launch?
Ugh. Failure to Launch is a very obnoxious film. The main plot is about Sarah Jessica Parker, who runs a business where she pretends to date men who are still living with their parents in order to get them to move out. Does this sound like a fun premise? No? Well, you're right. I don't even want to get into how children moving out the second they become adults is a deeply American tradition, and how dumb it is, because does this movie really deserve it? It was clearly made to cash in on the success of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I mean, the posters are so similar, it's borderline plagiarism. Matthew McConaughey as a main character both involve women manipulating men until, oh no, they get attached. I haven't seen How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, I'm sure it's a good movie, but as a ripoff, Failure to Launch is painful. And I'm not immediately against rom-coms, they're far from my preferred genre, but I'm not going to act like I'm above liking them. I definitely understand the appeal of the genre itself, but not this movie. It's cheesy, but that cheese doesn't mean anything because the co-leads have absolutely no chemistry with each other. It's not funny, this film's big jokes are a kid saying his teacher is a lesbian, and Matthew McConaughey being bitten by a squirrel. And the film follows every single rom-com trope to a T. The main characters break up before coming back together in the final act. There's a side romance between Riley from National Treasure and Zooey Deschanel. Honestly, the side romance was the best part of the film. I thought it was kind of charming how into each other they were. Sure, Riley from National Treasure had to blackmail her friend into getting the two of them to meet, but who cares about how healthy a relationship is? I really don't have a lot more to say. I guess there was a sweet moment between Matthew McConaughey and his mom where she tells him that she's scared of living with her husband by themselves again, because what if after all these years he doesn't like her anymore? That's honestly really emotional. But this plot point comes out of absolutely nowhere and is never brought up again. I was so caught off guard because where is this coming from? It's a good scene on paper, but it just needed room to breathe. If this was the theme the entire film was based on, I think I'd like it a lot more. And the worst part of this film is that I had to wait until a mid-credit scene to see my beloved Crystal the monkey. I was waiting for her to break me out of this hell the entire hour and 30 minutes. I thought she was going to be one of the animals who bites Matthew McConaughey in another scene of this film's brilliant comedy. But no! At least her scene was pretty good. She got to hang out with Bradley Cooper. Weirdly enough, this isn't the only movie on this list with both Bradley Cooper and Crystal the monkey. I don't know, I guess that's cool, question mark?
It gives me one more reason to pop in my Zookeeper Blu-ray, which, it's unnecessary, but hey, I'll take it.
Zookeeper is really bad, but it has a surprising amount of earnesty that keeps me from outright hating it. You can tell the people working on it had a good time, and it can be pretty charming at times. But at the same time, Zookeeper is an infuriatingly basic film with absolutely no ambitions. It's fully content with just being a dumb Kevin James rom-com, to the point that it barely even takes advantage of its own concept. The fact that Kevin James works as a zookeeper hardly matters. It could so easily be replaced with a job as a teacher, and the talking animals could be replaced with annoying co-workers. I guess we'd lose out on the hilarious scenes where Kevin James acts like an animal in an attempt to swoo his ex-girlfriend. Oh no, what a loss. I'd say that maybe 30% of this film takes place at an actual zoo. We have extended scenes at TGI Fridays, a bicycle race, a wedding, a car dealership. What does any of this have to do with him being a zookeeper? I guess his ex-girlfriend hates that he's a zookeeper and that's why she broke up with him. Is that a common thing? Do people famously hate zookeepers? Because personally, I think it's an awesome job. If I dated Kevin James, that part would be a green flag. Though, admittedly, I am kinda glad we didn't get more zoo in this movie, because my god are these talking animals annoying. There are these two bears who contribute absolutely nothing to the plot, they just exist to be comic relief, and talk about who's the alpha male between them. Fun. The lion and elephant are very annoying too, but at least they do something. And Crystal, what did they do to you? They got Adam Sandler to voice her, and I have nothing against Adam Sandler. Uncut Gems is one of my top 5 favorite 2019 movies, and 2019 was a strong year for film. But the voice he puts on for this movie is horrific.
Plus, he's the only human who recognizes me as an equal.
It was so bad that I was actively praying for them to not show Crystal the monkey. Do you know how bad that is? Adam Sandler was so annoying, I started screaming when I saw one of my favorite actresses of all time. My favorite part of the film was the 10 minutes at the start before the animals started talking, because I could look at my beloved Capuchin without delving into a full-on panic attack. Speaking of panic attacks, oh great, Joe Rogan is in this movie and he has a pretty big role in it. That's great. I'm so happy that Crystal the monkey and Joe Rogan have something in common. Please kill me. Maybe I'd like this movie more if it wasn't so trope heavy. Like, oh my god, Kevin James is chasing after his ex-girlfriend and pretends to date his co-worker to make her jealous. I wonder if the two of them are gonna slowly fall in love. Oh my god, what? They even have that scene that's at the end of every single rom-com where the girl is driving to the airport to leave forever, and the guy is chasing after her to tell her how much he loves her so that she won't leave. At least in this movie, Kevin James rides on top of a gorilla voiced by Nick Nolte to catch her. That's kind of fun. Speaking of the Nick Nolte gorilla, he's probably my favorite part of the film. He's nothing special at all, but I kinda enjoyed him going out of his comfort zone and becoming friends with Kevin James. It plays into Zookeeper's weird sincerity. For an early 2010s comedy, it's really not that cynical, and that was pretty refreshing in all honesty. So yeah, Zookeeper is a pretty bad movie, but you could do a lot worse, even if it should be against the Geneva Convention to have Adam Sandler voice Crystal the monkey.
Guys, we're running out of time.
We have gotten to our second movie on the list with Bradley Cooper in it, and trust me, it isn't the last we'll see of him either. The Hangover Part 3, quite easily the worst movie in the trilogy. I did watch the first Hangover for this video, even though I didn't have to. Crystal only appears in parts 2 and 3. I actually wasn't going to because I was not looking forward to watching these films, but I'm glad I did because the first one is good. It's nothing super special, and I have my issues with it, my biggest one by far being the really lame way they solved the big mystery the film set up, but it's charming, surprisingly funny at times, and the neat premise is executed pretty well. If it did count for this video, I'd probably rank it 6th place. The Hangover Part 3, though, has pretty much none of that. It's kind of charming, I guess, but the premise is not that interesting, and I never laughed a single time. There aren't that many jokes in this movie. It takes itself surprisingly seriously, and the ones they do tell have, like, no energy to them. There are like maybe 3 things I like about this movie. 1, I like John Goodman, and I think he did a pretty good job playing this mob boss guy. 2, while seeing the constant callbacks to the previous film can get grating, I like some of them. Seeing Jade and Tyler again was pretty cool. And 3, at least they tried to do something different. I'll talk about it later, but one of my biggest issues with The Hangover Part 2 is that it's basically just a retelling of the first movie. Hangover Part 3 is definitely unique, but at the same time, when nobody in The Hangover Part 3 even gets drunk, there's something wrong here. The movie is trying to be a light action flick, I guess. There are a surprising amount of action sequences, like one where they break into a mansion, hang off the side of a building, a car chase. With those, plus the constant references to the older films, it felt like I was watching a really shitty Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Like, the first 2 movies have some action stuff, but for the most part they're supposed to be just wacky antics. Part 3 feels like it's trying to be exciting and climactic, but it ends up falling on its face because I don't care that much. It's also really strange how Ken Jeong is just the main character now. He had a pretty small role in the first film, was part of the main cast in the second, and now he's the main focus? And look, I have nothing against Ken Jeong, but this specific character really only works in small doses for me. At a point, it just gets tiring. The entire first act of the film is about the characters setting up an intervention for Alan, and they're gonna bring him to a correction facility, I guess. But on the way there, John Goodman stops them and then the actual movie starts. So how do they wrap up the Alan plotline? Good question. They don't. He just meets this random lady halfway through the film, and they kind of hit it off. She's never mentioned again until the very end where Alan meets up with her, and I guess they get married? Okay. And the worst part is that Crystal the monkey really isn't in this movie. Considering the constant callbacks the film has, I was expecting her to return for a cameo at least, but no, she's just in a flashback at the very end. What a ripoff.
Never, John. Bury me in peace.
I really regret making this video because it forced me to rewatch the Bill Murray Garfield movie. Oh joy. Yeah, for some reason I've seen all 3 theatrical Garfield movies. Why? I don't fucking know. But I will say the one we're talking about today is pretty easily the best one. I'd give it a 3 out of 10. If you thought Chris Pratt was bad as Garfield, which he is, Bill Murray is somehow even worse. There's that infamous story about Murray being basically tricked into voicing Garfield and saying that it was the greatest mistake of his life. And I'll say that watching the movie and hearing his performance, I believe it. It genuinely sounds like his entire family is being held at gunpoint and is being forced to talk into that damn microphone, much like my current situation. None of his line deliveries have any energy to them, to the point I questioned if some of his lines were even supposed to be read as jokes, and Garfield would just not shut up across the entire film. The movie can just not let dead air be dead air. Any scene Garfield is in, there are not 2 seconds that go by where he's not speaking. Say what you will about Chris Pratt as Garfield, but at least he tried. Though, to be fair, he did give a really bad performance even though he did try, which in some ways is even more embarrassing, but at least he had energy. The entire emotional core of the film just doesn't work. Garfield's actions indirectly lead to Odie escaping and getting dog-napped, and Garfield has gotta rescue him. He's trepidatious towards the journey, but eventually he learns to love Odie as family. Except that never happens. Garfield just starts liking Odie 20 minutes into trying to rescue him, and it's not like the two interact to help this character development. The two don't meet again until the last 10 minutes. How the fuck did this happen? Honestly, Garfield should hate Odie more now. So, why is this the best theatrical Garfield movie? Well, I actually do like John. His relationship with Liz is pointless and I feel nothing towards it, but Brecklin Meyer genuinely gives a solid performance to the point that I genuinely cared about him. I like Odie. The fact that he doesn't talk is honestly a pretty big plus when comparing him to CGI Bill Murray Garfield. The dog actor they got is pretty good, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel sad when he's lying down next to a building after getting lost. Crystal the monkey is in the movie. I mean, barely, she's just in the background of a singular 3-second shot, but her presence is felt. I liked Lewis, and I think his relationship with Garfield is actually pretty sweet. The concept of a cat fake eating a mouse in order for it to escape a human's wrath is pretty charming. But yeah, it's not a good movie, but there are some things I appreciate about it. It could be a whole lot worse. I really want to watch those animated direct-to-DVD Garfield movies. Those look fun.
It's a normal-ass puppy. What have you done with Articuno?
Russell Madness is about a talking Russell Terrier who gets coached by a talking Crystal the Monkey on how to compete in competitive wrestling. Need I say more? But in all seriousness, it's not that terrible. It's not that terrible either. Please shoot me. I think it would be a pretty good kids movie in honesty, even if it does have issues. While the wrestling matches in the film are peak fiction, like genuinely, they're really entertaining and surprisingly creative, the human family drama could not be less interesting. There's a family of 4 who run a wrestling ring and wrestle, which is a terrible name for a dog, by the way. It's like if you named a golden retriever Golden. Anyway, Russell accidentally gets into the ring and kicks the shit out of one of the wrestlers. A video of it goes viral, and now the dog is a star. John Ratzenberger, which yes, the voice of the abominable snowman and Ham from Toy Story is in this movie for some reason, creates a deal with them and the dog wrestles around the world, but in the fine print it says that he actually owns the dog now. I don't care. I like John Ratzenberger, but he could not be giving a less committed performance. Hey, this is me editing, and when I recorded that, I did not know that John Ratzenberger was a MAGA racist freako. I just assumed that the man who voiced dozens of my childhood characters was a good person, and that's on me, I guess. I do not like John Ratzenberger now that I know this information. I'm sorry. Anyway, back to the video. He sounds bored out of his mind. Everyone in the family gives a similarly muted performance, but I did quite enjoy the guy who played the villain wrestler guy, the Hammer. You can tell he was having fun. It was neat. The set design is pretty good. I liked a lot of the costumes. Russell Madness is surprisingly competent. Sure, it has a lot of dumb kids movie trash. When I'm laughing so hard at a dog bouncing off the ropes and chokeholding a man, does it matter? It's also nice that Crystal the Monkey has a pretty big role here. She's voiced by Will Sasso of all people, who I only really know for voicing the head Ellingbo in Klaus. Banger movie, by the way. I mean, he did a pretty decent job for what it is. movies. But yeah, Wrestle Madness is alright. I definitely wouldn't call it good, but I did kind of like it. Christopher Nolan wishes he made real cinema like Wrestle Madness.
Experience? Jesse, what the fuck are you talking about?
Terror Tract is a 2000 anthology horror film, so why don't we go through all 3 anthology sections on their own and then talk about the film more generally at the end. Sounds good? So, Chapter 1 is by far the worst part of this film. The other chapters aren't that bad, but this one single-handedly brought Terror Tract like 3 placings down. It's about a wife who cheats on her husband, and then the husband tries to kill both her and her lover, but they kill him in self-defense. They dump his body into the lake, and the rest of the section involves them trying to avoid the police in the dumbest ways imaginable. But the wife keeps getting dreams of her husband coming back to life and taking revenge, and in her fear accidentally shoots her lover. That's it. That's the entire chapter. It's over 30 minutes long. It was so unbelievably boring. I am not exaggerating when I say that nothing happens after the opening where the husband dies. The wife has 3 whole dreams of him coming back to life as a swamp monster, but it doesn't mean anything because the story doesn't commit. And that's it. There's absolutely nothing else to discuss. I guess it's kinda neat how the husband was gonna set up his murders to look like the wife shot her lover and then hung herself out of guilt, and even though he didn't succeed, that ended up happening anyway. That's fine, but it doesn't do anything to mitigate the half an hour of nothing I had to experience. The narrator at the end says that the wife's body was covered in slimes, so I guess her husband did come back to life as a swamp monster, but the story is allergic to commitment, so I don't fucking know. 2 out of 10, do better. The second chapter is way better, and by far my favorite part of the movie, because it's the one with Crystal the monkey in it, and Bryan Cranston? I mean, this came out the same year as Malcolm in the Middle, so I guess it makes sense. It's just crazy that these two have interacted on screen before. Crystal should have made a cameo in Breaking Bad. But anyway, Crystal is a killer monkey who befriends Cranston's daughter, but ends up killing the family dog, a pest control officer, and Cranston's wife. Cranston goes crazy trying to kill Crystal for revenge, but then his daughter kills him with a shotgun when he almost kills Crystal. It's very fun. Cranston gives a pretty good performance, and watching him get all crazy about this small capuchin is very entertaining. It's nothing special, but it has Bryan Cranston and Crystal the Monkey fighting each other. What more could you want? Fuck it. 7 out of 10. The final chapter is fine. It's about this boy who keeps getting visions about the granny killer, and every time his visions are accurate, he tries to tell his story to a therapist. She gets scared because she thinks the boy is the granny killer, but oh my god, he's not the granny killer and gets killed. Crazy. No, it's never explained why there's a killer grandmother on the loose, or according to this film, it's a man who dresses up as a grandmother. That's also never explained. This story seems very uninterested in its main antagonist. But I don't know, I found myself sympathizing with the boy. The framing device of him telling this all to a therapist is neat. It could be worse, I guess. 4 out of 10. So yeah, those are all the chapters. Terror Tract was kind of a breath of fresh air because most Crystal the Monkey movies are stupid comedies or stupid kid slop, so watching a horror film for this project was at least kind of interesting. But something I actually really liked about this movie was its framing device. The movie has John Ritter trying to sell a house to a couple and ends up telling them the stories of the gruesome murders that took place at each one. And at the end, it's revealed that if he didn't sell a house, his wife and kid are going to get murdered. And because obviously the couple don't want to buy a house from him, John Ritter kills the husband. The wife runs away from John Ritter, and it turns out every house in the neighborhood is equally fucked up. I don't know, I thought that was really fun. Good job, movie makers. So yeah, Terror Tract is an alright movie. It's just that first story that really drags it down. If you're gonna watch it, just watch the Bryan Cranston versus Crystal the Monkey story and maybe the ending. Those are easily the best parts.
There are 3 temples in the temple.
Did you guys know that Nickelodeon made a TV movie based on the mid-90s game show, Legends of the Hidden Temple? Did you also know that it's not that bad? Yeah, I'm shocked too. I don't know, it was kind of fun, it was charming, and the people behind the film obviously had a lot of love for the source material. I have absolutely no connection to that source material, but I imagine if you're making a feature film based on Legends of the Hidden Temple, you have to be a pretty big fan of the show. I mean, it's not good, I'm not gonna pretend that it is, but the acting is solid enough. Hot Girl herself is the main character for some reason. There's some fun action and charming set pieces. It's fine. Sure, the audio sucks and the background music is always way too loud, but I'm not gonna get on their case about it. I also suck at audio mixing. The movie is also weirdly faithful to the source material. Kirk Fogg, the host of the original show, plays this tour guide person. D. Bradley Baker voiced Olmec, the temple head, in the original show, and he reprises his role in the film. In the 90s show, there are 6 teams named the Red Jaguars, Blue Barracudas, Orange Iguanas, Purple Parrots, Green Monkeys, and Silver Snakes. And all those animals appear in the movie. A purple parrot gets obliterated and Orange Iguana shows up for 2 seconds. The kids have to escape a red jaguar, cross a moat with blue barracudas, and put silver snakes in a Medusa head. Who hasn't done that at some point? But what about the green monkey? Well, that's our girl of the hour, Crystal the monkey. I don't know how to feel about her being green, but she's honestly used very well in the film. She gets to bonk the villain with a staff, scratch at his head, take a nap. Neat stuff. Also, yeah, this movie has a villain, but it's not really important. Basically, the kids need to find 2 halves of a pendant to save a civilization, and the villain wants it for evil. And yeah, that's kind of it. I don't hate the film, it's entertaining enough, but everything surrounding the film is way more interesting than the actual content I had to watch. It's charming, it made me chuckle a couple times. It's a more than solid kids movie, just not much more than that. It does have Green Crystal the monkey though, so that's definitely something in its favor. I made up my mind about how I feel about her being green.
Here we go. Time to bring on the chaser.
And we've arrived at the best movie with both Bradley Cooper and Crystal the Monkey, The Hangover Part 2. It's definitely not the worst film in the franchise, but it's definitely not the best. It's fundamentally a retelling of the original Hangover, but we're in Bangkok this time, and instead of Doug's wedding, it's Stu's. Also, there's somehow even more racial stereotypes, more Ken Jeong, Crystal the Monkey, and some pretty terrible transphobia. Neat. I honestly don't have a ton to say about it. It's decently charming, even if the pretty entertaining characters from the first one are watered down into their most annoying aspects, especially Stu. He's such an asshole in this one. There's parts I like. I enjoy Paul Giamatti's character, seeing him maybe want to rewatch The Holdovers, which is a good thing, I guess. I liked the Mike Tyson cameo. There is one thing I really liked about this movie, and it was Crystal the Monkey. She plays a drug-dealing monkey, and that is incredible. The shot of her smoking a cigarette on the roof is the coolest shot in the history of cinema. But other than that, it's fine. I really wish that they followed up on Stu's relationship with the stripper from the last movie. I actually thought it was really sweet and well done, but no, he just gets a random new wife. Okay. Instead of Doug being missing, it's Stu's wife's brother, so I guess I could have just said brother-in-law. But it is truly incredible how much this movie dedicates to doing the exact same story beats from the original. There's a moment where they think they found the guy they're looking for, but it's actually a misunderstanding. Stu has a relationship with a sex worker, with the gimmick being that she's trans. Wow, that is such a funny joke. They even do the stupid thing where right as Bradley Cooper is telling the bride what happened and how someone is missing, Stu puts the clues together and figures out where the guy is. It's dumb in the first movie, and it's even dumber here. To an extent, I kind of have to respect the fact that they just said, fuck it, we're doing the exact same movie a second time. I didn't really like it that much, but it's not a bad movie, it's just not my favorite thing in the world. But I do think it's really cute how they brought Crystal to the premiere of the film. Look at her dress, she's so pretty.
Pedophile says, what? Get away from me.
The Shaggy Dog, the 2006 reboot of the 1994 film The Shaggy Dog, which is a reboot of the 1987 film The Return of the Shaggy Dog, which is a sequel to the 1976 film The Shaggy DA, which is a sequel to the 1959 film The Shaggy Dog. There have been 5 Shaggy Dog movies and only 1 Rise of the Guardians film. This is just a fact about humanity that we need to come to terms with. Anyway, you guys are way too mean to this movie. This is by far the lowest rated Crystal the Monkey movie on the entirety of Letterboxd, with a staggeringly low 1.9 rating. You guys think this is worse than Hop and Treasure Buddies? Get out of town. Oh, it's not a good movie, but it has just the right amount of stupidity and shocking sincerity that makes me enjoy it. Yeah, the main joke of the film is that Tim Allen is acting like a dog. Is it lowbrow? Is it stupid? Undoubtedly. But god damn it, the man puts his entire ass into the fucking performance, and I think it genuinely works at times. I don't even really like Tim Allen that much, but I have to respect him for this. And you know what? I don't think the emotional core was all that bad. Yeah, Tim Allen's melodrama with his son and daughter are both really stupid, but I didn't hate the stuff with his wife. When he couldn't make it to dinner because he's stuck in dog mode and then he tries to bring flowers to her, but she can't possibly understand what's happening. That moment's kind of good, actually. Sure, the stuff with his wife is resolved in a really dumb way, but hey, I didn't hate the journey. Robert Downey Jr. is in this. This was 2 years before Iron Man, so that makes sense. He plays the main villain, and the way he's defeated is that Tim Allen bites him as a dog, so he gets the dog DNA thing. Tim Allen throws a police baton in the courtroom and tells him to fetch it, and then Robert Downey Jr. grows a dog tail. This is the movie that beat The Hangover Part 2 in the ranking. I'm sorry. I feel like if this movie was made maybe 5 years later, I really wouldn't like it. It'd be more a corporate feeling, I guess. And it's not that this isn't corporate feeling, it just feels like the people behind it were like, oh yeah, the audiences are gonna love this, instead of designing a film for the lowest common denominator. I don't know, it feels more sincere, even if this is a Disney remake of sorts. Oh, and Crystal the Monkey is just one of the animals Robert Downey Jr. experimented on, alongside a CGI snake with a squirrel tail and a CGI toad with a dog head. I should be executed.
Piranha.
You know what? Dr. Dolittle isn't that bad. I had extremely low expectations going into it, and that's probably why I didn't end up hating it, but hey, I didn't end up hating it. As I mentioned before, the film's biggest strength is the fact that Eddie Murphy is really charismatic and made me care about Dolittle way more than I would otherwise. His extreme kindness for the animals around him made him pretty likable, and that's a good thing because imagine if Dolittle was played by someone without Murphy's charm. Someone like, I don't know, Robert Downey Jr. Oh. Anyway, yeah, Dr. Dolittle is an extremely mid-family movie, but Eddie Murphy does his damnedest to make the film enjoyable, and I'd say he succeeded for the most part. Too bad so many of the talking animals are endlessly annoying. The Chris Rock guinea pig might be the worst character I have ever seen in any film. He is absolutely insufferable, and the worst part is that he gets some of the most screen time in the entire film. The only animal that gets more is the Norm Macdonald dog, and at least he actually contributes to the plot and is likable. There's a scene where the Chris Rock guinea pig is about to be eaten by a tiger, and I screamed at my screen when Eddie Murphy rescued him. Let him die. Well, the guinea hog is the most annoying. I also really didn't like those 2 rats that kept appearing throughout the film. I love rats. They're adorable and one of my favorite animals, and I'm glad I can't talk to them if this is what they're all like. The humor is bleh, nothing really got a chuckle out of me, except for Crystal the monkey who plays this alcoholic monkey. I don't know, maybe I have Crystal Stockholm Syndrome. This video is about her after all, but I thought it was pretty funny. The plot is fine, if exceedingly simple. A human who can talk to animals is such a tired premise at this point, but the film makes a decent use of it. Eddie Murphy and the Norm Macdonald dog have a falling out, I guess. It's a classic third act breakup, but it doesn't actually matter because they start talking again 5 minutes later. I did actually enjoy the stuff with the tiger. The suicide stuff was strange to say the least, but I genuinely felt something when Eddie Murphy started performing surgery on it to remove the blood clot. Albert Brooks does a good job voicing the creature and I got pretty emotionally invested, surprisingly so. Don't get me wrong, Dr. Dolittle is not a great film. It's a blindingly basic family film from the 90s, but it could have been so much worse and I was pleasantly surprised by it. Honestly, I like it even more now that I've seen how they could have fucked it up. I could definitely understand someone loving it if they have nostalgia for it. Did it deserve to get 4 sequels and a 2020 reboot? No comment.
Oh yeah. Gibby!
The evidence of my Stockholm Syndrome continues because I genuinely liked Gibby. It takes a lot of courage for me to say that, but yes, I liked the movie with this poster. Is it embarrassingly cliche in areas? Yes, but gosh darn it, there's a real heart to this film, and it's really cute. Maybe it's because my beloved Capuchin gets quite a bit of screen time, and most of what they do with her is pretty entertaining, which brings me to my biggest point. Gibby is an absolutely insane film, and I mean this in the best way possible. You want to know how our main character meets Crystal? Well, her teacher is holding a contest to decide who gets to take care of Crystal over the summer, since the teacher is going on vacation or something and Crystal is her pet. And every single kid in her class is like, holy shit, I get to take care of a monkey? Sign me up! It's so silly. A lot of scenes of this movie last forever, which is probably one of my bigger issues with the film. There's a 10-minute long scene at a school dance where the main character and the love interest dance to an entire song together. Crystal the monkey runs away and there's like a 15-minute scene where the main characters try and get her back. It's pretty fun, but 15 minutes? Speaking of the love interest, the romance in the film is fine. It's charming enough, but there's a plot point where the villain of the film goes up and kisses love interest on the lips in front of the main character. He's very clearly confused, but the main character takes this as the two of them being together for some reason. This conflict lasts a while, but it's never resolved. Love interest tries to tell her what happened, but she keeps blowing it off. But at the end of the scene where Crystal escapes, they're suddenly lovey-dovey again? What? Before watching, I thought this movie would be kind of like Russell Madness, a sports movie with a monkey. The poster makes it look like a gymnastics movie, and it kind of is, but the characters more so just talk about gymnastics. The big gymnastics competition is relegated to the last 10 minutes, and it's pretty underwhelming to say the least. But when the credits roll, all the characters sing an original song about Crystal the monkey. This is the greatest film I've ever seen in my life. Though, being serious, is this a good movie? Probably not, but damn it, I had a pretty good time. It kind of gives me High School Musical vibes, and I do love me some High School Musical, so that's some pretty high praise. This is also the only movie on the entire list where Crystal the monkey plays a girl monkey instead of a boy monkey, which is strange because she's a girl. I don't know, just kind of interesting. Look, American Pie is not the type of film I would usually find myself enjoying. It doesn't help that many films in this specific genre are pretty terrible, including American Pie's 8 sequels. But unlike the many flicks this inspired, I thought American Pie was kind of good, actually. Is it flawed? Oh, undeniably, but the film had a certain level of quality to it. Sure, a lot of it is really gross. The 10-minute scene where Jason Biggs broadcasts sex sex that his partner did not consent to filming is by far the worst part of the film. It's made worse by the fact that it doesn't even amount to anything. His schoolmates make fun of him for one scene and then is a non-issue the rest of the film. Even Crystal the monkey, being one of the viewers, didn't save it. The scene where Jennifer Coolidge had sex with a high school boy was strange. Okay, yeah, American Pie is not that great, but it is extremely earnest, and I find that somewhat respectable, and I think it has some sweet aspects to it. I thought Oz and Heather had a genuinely really lovely relationship with each other. The scene where Oz leaves his lacrosse game to be in Heather's singing competition because he realized that's what he really cares about was incredibly sweet and very High School Musical coded for the second time in this video. And again, I do love me some High School Musical. Kevin and Vicky's relationship was also surprisingly mature. These two aspects of the film make it so much more than just a simple sex comedy, and that's really cool. Jason Biggs' speech at the end, where he says that he hates how much pressure there is to have sex, felt like the film was actually trying to say something, and I really appreciate that. Sadly, the film does kind of undermine this message because all four boys end up miraculously scoring by the end of the day anyway, so whatever, fuck me I guess. Oh, and the scene where Jason Biggs fucked the pie, yeah, it was one of like 3 things I knew about this film before going in, and honestly, kind of underwhelming. They could have gone way further, but it's surprisingly tame. The scene where Stifler drinks the beer is way more upsetting than this. Well, I honestly don't have much else to say. If you don't like American Pie, I 100% understand that and agree that it's not great, but it could have been a lot worse, which is why I'm so grateful that they never put Crystal the Monkey in any of the sequels. Thank God.
I call it a rug. Rhymes with grug.
Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb is the Night at the Museum with the most Ricky Gervais in it, so it's pretty easily the worst in the trilogy. It's good. I think it carries over the surprising quality of the first 2 films pretty well. There's just a lot holding it back. Like, Secret of the Tomb does fix one of my biggest issues with the second entry, that being the dumb usage of the Night at the Museum 1 characters. Secret of the Tomb actually uses them really well in my opinion. Maybe some of them, like Attila the Hun and Saga Joia, feel a bit underused, but almost all of the others contribute to the story and have some great bits. I love the misadventures Owen Wilson and Steve Coogan get into. I love how Crystal the Monkey is the one to save them. Achim Ra's relationship with his family is really sweet. Robin Williams' Theodore Roosevelt is basically the second main character. But the problems start to come in when you look at the characters Secret of the Tomb introduces. My favorite is probably Law, the 4th Neanderthal played by Ben Stiller. Okay. For a while the only joke with him is haha, he looks like the main character, and that gets very old, but then they do the weirdest thing ever and have him get into a relationship with Rebel Wilson's character. Strange move, but it was honestly great. There's Sir Lancelot, the twist villain of the film. Yes, Secret of the Tomb has a twist villain, and yes, it's as dumb as you're imagining. Halfway through the film, he kind of just decides he's gonna be the villain now, and takes the golden tablet that makes the museum come to life at night. And because the tablet hasn't been exposed to moonlight in a while, it's rotting, and if they don't get it back, everyone's gonna die. What's Lancelot's motivation, considering that if the tablet rots, he's gonna die too? It's his quest, I guess. That's literally the only explanation the film ever gives. And then when everyone's starting to die in front of him and Ben Stiller gets really sad, Lancelot is just like, oh my bad, I didn't know. And that's it. So it feels like a complete waste of time. While he's not technically a new character, Ben Stiller's son is all grown up now, and that means we have to have super generic melodrama where Ben Stiller's son doesn't want to go to college, but Ben Stiller wants him to go to college. It's dumb. It just feels like they ran out of ideas on what to do with Ben Stiller, so they gave him an angsty son. It's fine, but it's just annoying. That was a lot of complaining, but I do like the movie. It is its fair share of good gags, and it tries to be emotional. The last scene with Robin Williams choked me up a little bit. I should mention that this is Robin Williams' second to last movie. In case you were wondering what his actual last film is, it was the Simon Pegg movie Absolutely Anything. I wish I could ask the universe what it was thinking when it made that decision. But that's a decently common knowledge. Did you know that this is also Mickey Rooney's second to last movie? What a weird ass coincidence. There's also an extended Hugh Jackman cameo. That's all I got to say on that front. But yeah, Secret of the Tomb could be better, but it is a good enough finale to a classic franchise. It gets my approval. Ben Stiller kisses Crystal the Monkey on the lips.
Name an animal on the screen.
Hand.
We Bought a Zoo feels like an Oscar bait film that didn't actually get nominated for any Oscars. It's schlocky, it's unbearably cheesy, but god damn it, it's so hard to hate it. I really miss when films like this were so painfully earnest. It's charming in a certain way. There are moments where the film really got to me emotionally, when Matt Damon was talking about how his dead wife is everywhere around him, how everything reminds him of her. That was effective. When someone's in your life, their experiences are shared with you, and separating them from the life they've affected is very hard. Now, immediately afterward, Matt Damon and his son have the most generic father-son argument I've ever heard, but I liked the scene before that. Overall, I think the film portrays grief in a pretty effective way when we're only talking about Matt Damon. Matt Damon gets a lot of scenes to mourn his wife, and some are pretty well done. I liked the scene on the Apple laptop. I liked when he couldn't put down a tiger because it reminded him too much of the loss he's already experienced, but we never really get to see how grief affects Matt Damon's children. The film shows us that the son is mopey and doesn't get along with people and gets suspended from school, but we never really see his inner conflict. The entirety of his screen time is relegated to his not great relationship with his dad and this random girl he meets at the zoo so they can have a passionless romantic subplot. And from what we see on screen, it really seems like the daughter doesn't care that her mom is gone at all. I'm not saying that I needed hour-long subplots exploring all three characters' grief, but I would have liked something. The score is also a really mixed bag for me, which is probably a weird opinion. It's a generally well-liked score. I think it's good music on its own, but it feels so misused in the final product. Why is there a sweeping orchestral song when Matt Damon is kicking a barrel because he's angry that he's having money problems? Why is a very similar song playing while the characters are in the woods chasing after a bear who escaped? And that's the thing, there's absolutely no variety in the score. Every single song feels like it's trying to tug on your heartstrings as hard as emotionally possible. And it did work, but the entire soundtrack feels so manipulative. It's like the movie is scared of investing into an emotional scene, so it puts Pixar music on top of every single one, even ones that aren't supposed to be emotional. Again, it's good music, but I don't love its implementation. Matt Damon and Scarlett Johansson do good jobs. The film is well directed. I liked looking at cute animals. I wish Crystal the Monkey got more screen time. She's basically on this one guy's shoulder the entire film, which is cute, but I wish she did more in the animal movie. At least they credited Crystal the Monkey in the credits of the film. Not a lot of movies on this list did that. I can see why someone could hate We Bought a Zoo. I can see why someone could love it. If you love tooth-rotting fluff in your cinema, this is the movie for you. Personally, I liked it. I enjoyed its painful earnesty for what it's worth. It's a very easy film to watch, and there is a lot to like. I don't love it, but there is a reason why it's this high on the list. The main reason, of course, being the scene where Matt Damon's son kicked the snake. 10 out of 10 scene, 10 out of 10 movie.
At least I own a shower, you bastard.
I would kiss you right in the mouth if you didn't smell like shit.
Fun with Dick and Jane is a really forgettable yet surprisingly solid film with a very confused identity. It has a lot to say about the phoniness of the American dream and what poverty can do to a person, while also being a dumb stupid Jim Carrey comedy film with no greater ambitions. It's very confusing. Okay, the film is about Jim Carrey, who after getting a huge promotion at his job is then immediately let off because the company declared bankruptcy due to the actions of the CEO. After struggling to find jobs, he and his wife commit to a life of robbery in order to pay their mortgage and not get evicted. This seems like a very serious premise, one that could potentially be very dramatic, and those elements are here. I was kind of struck by the couple just sitting in the dirt, wondering how it all went wrong. Jim Carrey's speech about how they followed all the rules and they still got screwed was compelling, but these points are buried in dumb Jim Carrey antics that leave them feeling tonally off. It doesn't help that the film has some very strange elements like the stereotypical as hell Mexican housekeeper, or the scene where Jim Carrey is mistaken for a Mexican immigrant and gets sent to border control. I don't know if shit like that should be treated comically. I don't know, after the solid opening, the montage where the couple do a bunch of shit to try and get money kind of annoyed me. Oh my god, they're selling the TV and their kid is super upset about it. Whatever, man. Speaking of the kid, I feel like there was a lot of missed opportunity in him. He's barely in the film, and I would have liked to see how his parents' poverty was affecting him, or at least have his well-being be a motivation for the two of them to do crime. Instead, the thing that convinces Jane to steal from people is potentially losing her house, which, don't get me wrong, is a horrific and traumatizing event, but your son is right there. But once they do start that crime, the film gets pretty enjoyable again. I really like the dumb costumes the two of them use. I love the bank robbery and how Jim Carrey acts during it. They eventually stop stealing because during their bank robbery, other desperate employees try robbing the same bank they're taking from, and they get arrested. I feel like this is a weak motivation to stop stealing, but whatever. Like, maybe during a heist they could have accidentally stolen from another desperate family and see how horribly it affected them. But as it is, it seems like what stopped them was the threat of going to jail, which is just kind of But I 100% support stealing from CEOs, so the ending where Dick and Jane steal $400 million from the CEO who ran the company into the ground and then sharing the money with the other disgraced employees, that was nice. Overall, it's a pretty solid time. It's actually a remake of the 1977 film of the same name, which is okay. Before this project, I hadn't heard of either the original movie or its remake, and the 1977 version seems to be a pretty small movie, where they decided to remake Fun with Dick and Jane of all things. Oh, and Crystal the Monkey, she was basically just a cameo. She was in the background of one singular scene where Jane gets money to take an untested Botox substitute. Her lip gets fucked up because it's untested, but it's a bit the movie doesn't even commit to because her face goes back to normal after a while. What the fuck?
There's Kojima, look!
Night at the Museum: Battle of the Smithsonian is a pretty worthwhile sequel to the 2006 film that sadly does lose a bit of the magic the original had. It's not that bad, it is an extremely fun film, but the entire experience reeks of, we gotta make this a big franchise now. Like, the main villain of the film is Hank Azaria as Common Raw, and he wants to erupt an army of the dead to become the new King of Earth. Come on, man, the villains of the last movie were old night guards who wanted to steal some gold. Calm down a little bit. And it kinda sucks because I love Hank Azaria and he kills it as Common Raw. He has a lot of great bits and I think he's overall a better villain than Dick Van Dyke. It's just, I don't know if this film needed a big final battle where all the characters fight an Egyptian king. I don't know. Like, Hank Azaria recruits 3 big bad villains as henchmen: Napoleon Bonaparte, Ivan the Terrible, and Al Capone. But they don't really do that much. They're a nice presence, but I think they could pretty easily be removed from the final film without much compromise. The film introduces a lot of new wacky side characters since we're now at the Smithsonian and a new museum, and all that makes perfect sense. But that leaves the side characters from the original feeling pretty stranded. Outside of Owen Wilson and Steve Coogan, who are still as wonderful as ever, the rest are pretty much stuck in this wooden crate the entire movie, and don't actually matter until the aforementioned big final battle. I like a lot of the new characters though. Hank Azaria playing Abraham Lincoln is a pretty big highlight. Amy Adams as Amelia Earhart is really fun, even if I do not buy for a second that she would be this horny for Ben Stiller. But I think there was a better way to include the old ones, that's all. At least they integrate Owen Wilson and Steve Coogan very well. Owen Wilson is basically the damsel in distress for most of the film, and Steve Coogan rides in on a squirrel to save him. That's so lovely. And I mean, the film as a whole is very fun. The thinker scene is funny. I really love Crystal the Monkey playing two monkeys, Dexter and Abel, and both have great moments. I weirdly enjoyed the 30-second Jonah Hill cameo, and while I don't love the final battle, right afterward Ben Stiller sword fights Hank Azaria with a flashlight, and it's one of the greatest things I have ever seen in my life. The film does a pretty good job of expanding on the concepts the last film went with. I really like the painting scene, for example. It's really cool. This is a good sequel, and it's pretty in line with the quality of the original. I'll just always take that one over this one due to how charmingly simple it is. Battle of the Smithsonian is bigger, not necessarily better, but it is very enjoyable. Dude, I fucking loved the Oscar the Grouch cameo. That is so awesome. Unironically, the Darth Vader cameo was alright, I guess. Not as good as Oscar the Grouch, but who is?
You open up your fridge and there are 7,000 gay men inside being gay.
If you know Crystal the Monkey from any movie, it's almost definitely Night at the Museum, where she plays Dexter the Capuchin. I think it's a good thing that this is her legacy because Night at the Museum is pretty good. It's not anything spectacular, but god damn it, it is such a fun ride. The film had a good concept under its belt, and I think it executed it about as well as it could have. Sure, when the film is trying to be emotional, it falls on its face. I'm sorry, but I do not care about Ben Stiller and the love interest. I don't care about Ben Stiller and his son. Their relationships feel so stock and unambitious. It feels like they were included to fill a quota. Honestly, Ben Stiller and Robin Williams Theodore Roosevelt have a much more compelling relationship, and the film doesn't ever take it that seriously, which is honestly a good thing. Though there is one emotional core of the film I do unashamedly love. Of course, Owen Wilson and Steve Coogan playing Jedediah Smith and Octavius. I did not expect this movie to have incredible enemies to lovers yaoi in it, but I am definitely all for it. Even outside of the undeniable romantic tension the two of them have, they're just fun characters. The way Owen Wilson delivers every one of his lines made me smile every time. It's so peak. And when Night at the Museum is engaging in the silliness of its world, that's when the film shines bright. I love how the movie builds up Achman-Ra as a potential villain, with him screaming in pain to escape his tomb every night, but when he finally is let free, he's just a chill dude. That's awesome. Dick Van Dyke, Mickey Rooney, and Bill Cobbs are entertaining as the older Night Guards, and when they turn into straight-up villains, I am all for it. Yeah, I think it's funny to see Mickey Rooney perform a pile driver. Sue me. I really like Dexter, not even just because he's played by my beloved Capuchin. Maybe the piss thing is a bit much, but I can tolerate it. I mean, it's a Night at the Museum, you know it's a fun movie. I do have some larger issues outside of what I've mentioned. For example, I cannot stand Ricky Gervais. Like, even outside of the really weird shit he said, I just hate how smug and self-righteous he is. His performance in this movie isn't bad, but it's genuinely one of the strangest performances I've ever seen an actor give before. It reminds me of Mark Ruffalo in Mickey 17, but at least there it had a reason for being so strange. Here, I don't get it, man. I also think the ending is really lame. So Dick Van Dyke steals the artifact that makes the museum come to life, so they gotta chase him down. Okay, I'm with you so far, and the climax does have some great bits. I adore the scene of Owen Wilson and Steve Coogan trying to pop the tire. But after they get the artifact back, the museum is a complete mess, so Ben Stiller's getting fired, obviously. I thought they were going to resolve this by Stiller putting the blame on Dick Van Dyke and saying he broke in, but no, instead it's resolved by Ben Stiller's shenanigans bringing so much publicity to the museum that it becomes super popular again. Okay. Though overall, these aren't huge issues. I really recommend The First Night at the Museum. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it's a well put together family film with some great bits in there. Nice work.
Not Clayton.
George of the Jungle is a good movie. I really liked it. I was smiling like 75% of the runtime. Isn't that insane? The film genuinely feels like a cartoon came to life. The amount of silly antics and good physical comedy on display is impressive. The first scene with George consists of him crashing into a tree, falling onto a lion, beating the shit out of it, including doing a clothesline off of a rubber tree, and spinning him over his head. And this isn't even the craziest scene. Even the narrator is surprisingly funny. In other films, I might find the constant fourth wall breaks annoying, but it just works here. And that's the entire film. I think what makes this movie work so much is the fact that Brendan Fraser is just so damn likable. He's so charming the entire way through, even when he's doing potentially annoying stuff. I totally get why every woman in this film wants to fuck him. The John Cleese ape is surprisingly enjoyable. The puppet work on him is really good. The film mostly uses real animals, but for some of them they use puppets or CGI for the elephant. Yeah, this doesn't look good, but I'll give him a break. George of the Jungle is not a very complicated film, but it's such a blast the whole way through. It's kind of like the live-action Scooby-Doo films. Those feel like live-action cartoons, and I think George is in a very similar camp. The way Brendan Fraser moves and acts, it's so goofy, I love it. I was a bit worried that the film would lose me when they bring George out of the jungle and into San Francisco. It just felt like they would do a bunch of, oh my god, primitive man discovers modern things, and it get old. They do that, but they also have George save a man by swinging off the Golden Gate Bridge and stuffing his face full of banana at a dinner party, so it evens out. Though, to be fair, there is a lot of stuff in this movie. Ursula's mother, Ursula is George's love interest, and she has an ex who got put in jail for shooting George. Don't question it, and no, I don't know why she's named Ursula. Anyway, Ursula's mom doesn't want her daughter to marry George, she wants her to marry prison boyfriend. It's pretty annoying, to be honest, and it doesn't really go anywhere. At the end, Ursula is just like, I love George, and then the mom is pissed, and then she goes to their wedding at the end. Alright. But I do love what they do with her ex-boyfriend at the end. Apparently off-screen, he broke out of prison, got a license to officiate weddings, and hired 5 armed men to capture George. This movie is amazing, and I love it so much. Yeah, the pacing isn't great. There are a lot of characters who don't do anything. There's some dumb pee and fart jokes. But come on, George of the Jungle is such a fun movie. Honestly, the only thing that really disappointed me was the lack of Crystal the Monkey. For the most part, they used this other monkey actor named Binks the Monkey. What the hell? I'm pretty sure Crystal is only in the film during the first 3 minutes, and she's this random monkey that Ursula looks at in a tree for 2 seconds. If she's in the movie elsewhere, I couldn't find her. That's so lame. I'm not actually punishing the movie for that, come on. I also watched George of the Jungle 2 for some reason, even though it doesn't have Crystal the Monkey. If it did count for this list, I'd probably rank it 6th place. I actually really enjoyed it, even if Brendan Fraser's presence was very missed.
She's got your back.
Oh, yo, the bartender's a horse.
Westerns are 100% not my go-to genre. I have nothing against the medium, I just have seen very little of what it has to offer. I adored Brokeback Mountain, but is that really a Western? In my opinion, it's a romance that stars 2 cowboys. Is Cowboy Christmas a Western because it has a cowboy in it? I don't think so. I really liked The Quick and the Dead. Back to the Future Part 3 was okay. The Old Way starring Nicolas Cage was definitely a Western starring Nicolas Cage. Rango was absolutely phenomenal. Does Home on the Range count? And that's pretty much it. I haven't seen No Country for Old Men, I haven't seen Django, so when I tell you that 3:10 to Yuma is the second best Western I've seen, please take it with a grain of salt. 2007's 3:10 to Yuma is a remake of the 1957 film 3:10 to Yuma, brought to us by James Mangold, who's usually a good director except when he wasn't that one time. I've never seen the original film, so maybe I'd prefer that one, but I thought the 2007 version was pretty damn good. I think it just really excels at character writing. Russell Crowe's character is just so palpably compelling. The theme is about Christian Bale and company journeying to take him to the 310 on its way to Yuma prison. For 90% of the time, Russell Crowe is calm as can be, seemingly overjoyed to be getting into these people's heads. But every so often, he cracks. He stabs one of the guards in the neck over and over just because his singing was keeping him awake. Throws another one off a cliff because he insulted him. Just little glimpses of a monster pretending to be a civilized person. Then there's Christian Bale, who's similarly compelling. The theme has a pretty big theme of toxic masculinity, and Bale plays into that very interestingly. He has no grand story to him. He has a missing leg, but it was simply shot by one of his own men. He's just a tired man who's being fucked over by a railroad company that's stealing his land from him. He has a son who hates him, a wife who won't look at him. He wants a purpose. So let's go put Russell Crowe on a train and send him to prison. A prison he's escaped from twice before and probably will again. But that doesn't matter. It's about the story. At the end of the film, Bale is able to get through an entire town who wants him dead and Russell Crowe's personal army. He and Crowe get onto the train, and Bale is shot down right at the end. And I just have to ask, does it matter then? Sure, he succeeded in his pointless mission, but he died for it. Doesn't matter that he successfully got through tens of people if one of them eventually got to him anyway. Well, of course it does. His son was able to watch him succeed, his son has a reason to remember him fondly, and that's enough for him. And isn't that just sad? This man has been constantly fucked over by everyone around him, and when he finally has his moment, he dies for it. Yeah, he got to prove himself, but isn't it tragic that he felt like he needed to? I don't know, I think it's interesting. I'll definitely be thinking about it for a while, but other than that, 3:10 to Yuma is pretty damn solid. Good action, well shot, pretty great music across the board. I wish the film was a tiny bit shorter. I think some scenes go on way too long, and a lot of the less interesting side characters could pretty easily be cut. Speaking of that, Chris the Monkey basically just has a cameo appearance. Lame. I wanted to see her on Christian Bale's shoulder shooting down bad guys in a cowboy hat.
After Meta Knight flies into the Coca-Cola realm,
the 101-year-old man who skipped out on the bill and disappeared. Sequel to the 2013 film, The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared. It's actually really good. It's a Swedish absurdist comedy film, and it's perfect at what it does. For this video, I also watched the first film, and it's very similar in quality to its 2016 sequel. It is better. Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared comes together a bit better and focuses on many absurd set pieces compared to Skipped Out on the Bill and Disappeared's one big idea. Both films have sequences that are flashbacks of the main character Alan's life. The joke being, wow, this man has been through it all. In Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared, Alan's father invents the condom and is executed. Alan worked with Oppenheimer on the atomic bomb. I cannot believe Christopher Nolan failed to adapt this very true-to-life part of the story. Best Picture, my ass. He attends a party set up by Stalin and is thrown in a gulag when Alan reveals he saved the life of Francisco Franco, etc. It's very Forrest Gump-esque, which is a movie I have not seen. Skipped on the bill is pretty much all about the creation of folk soda, which in this universe was a Russian drink that the Americans were convinced would make the Soviets billions of dollars because it's so goddamn tasty. The two countries fought for years when finally Richard Nixon and Leonid Brezhnev came to an agreement and decided to not make any folk soda. Yes, this is in the movie. But Alan was the co-inventor of the drink, so the film is about Alan trying to find the formula so he can make billions of dollars. Other people want the formula, including the CIA and Alan's dead friend's daughter. Chaos ensues. I think the main thing the film does so well is the characterization of Alan himself. He's so nonchalant and carefree about everything. He will just speak what is on his mind and do what he wants, but not in a malicious way. He's a very kind-hearted and sincere person, but maybe a little aloof at times. It's really endearing. Robert Gustafsson does a great job playing him, and I think the obvious old person makeup makes the film way more charming. There's not a ton of things in the film that make me laugh per se, but it is an extremely enjoyable time watching these dumb set pieces come together. The film is honestly incredibly good at setting things up. What seems to be a simple comedic scene where Alan brings Crystal the monkey onto a plane turns into a scene where one of the flight attendants goes home, her boyfriend realizes she has scratches on her from the monkey, he asks what the hell is going on, she explains the 101-year-old man, the boyfriend realizes that she's talking about the man who stole money from his brother, it happened in the first movie, and now our main villain is set up. What the hell? Finally, watching all of these seemingly disconnected plot points collide at the end was incredibly entertaining. If you just want to see a film where the most absurd shit happens in it, and the characters act like this is an everyday occurrence, I'd really recommend both of these films. Apparently the first one is the third highest grossing Swedish film of all time. That's impressive. Also, Crystal the monkey is amazing in Skipped Out on the Bill and Disappeared. She's mostly just a silly monkey who gets into hijinks, except when she kills a man by popping a champagne cork into his mouth and down his throat. This is awesome. I want monkeys to kill people more.
The Animal Crossing New Horizons Nintendo Switch 2 Edition game.
Really, what else could it be? The Fablemans is Crystal the Monkey's latest and possibly last work. And what a finale. My girl finally got to work with the Steven Spielberg. I am so proud of her. Why did I get genuinely emotional about Crystal looking far older in this film than she usually does? She's grown so much and done so much with her life. It's incredible. But obviously, The Fablemans is a masterpiece. As someone who loves film and eventually wants to make one of their own, it's a picture that really speaks to me. It does a phenomenal job portraying the impact that film can have on your life and the impact your life can have on film. The Fablemans is semi-autobiographical. It loosely portrays the early life of Steven Spielberg. It would be incredibly easy for this type of film to come off as egotistical and bigger than life. But I don't think that it does. Spielberg smartly keeps the focus on the art, the filmmaking, and the consequences of it, instead of how incredible he himself is. The film's incredibly critical look at Sam's family is so raw. I was struck when Sam's sister told him he's even more selfish than his mother. I was compelled at how detached he became from his family. Of course, that shot is the best moment in the film, as when Sam's parents finally tell their kids what's going on, and while his siblings react completely naturally, Sam just imagines himself filming the goings-on in the mirror. It's been talked about to death, and even though I knew what was coming, I couldn't stop myself from getting chills. It's like Spielberg has been holding that shot inside him for decades. It's so raw, it's as if the film itself is ripping apart in order to portray it, just like the holes Sam poked into the film in order to make the toy guns look like they were firing. It's breathtaking. The contrast between Sam showing his mom the film he made about the camping trip and him showing her what he had to cut out of the film and how much it broke her, it perfectly portrays the impact film, or just art in general, can have on someone. And God, Michelle Williams' performance. All the acting in this movie is incredible. From Paul Dano to goddamn Seth Rogen. I wish more of them got nominated for Oscars. Michelle Williams is the first person I give it to, but at least throw Paul Dano one. Oh, wait, my mistake. Fabelman's got 2 actor noms. Judd Hirsch got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for the one scene he appeared in. I mean, he was amazing in that scene, and his words the same echo across the entire film, but... really? Anyway, God, I love all the interesting stuff that goes into Sam's filmmaking process. Stomping on a board with sand in order to simulate a landmine. All the extras from one shot moving to the other location behind the camera because they didn't have enough for the entire scene. While he was filming the school film, he dropped ice cream on someone's face, and I thought it was just a gag. But when you finally see the film, it's revealed that it was fake bird poop. That's awesome. And when he's filming the war movie and he gets that one amazing shot, the look on his face as he realizes what he's doing, realizes what he's filming, it's magical, man. Art is so fucking amazing. I love it. And the final scenes between both of his parents are so wonderful. I love the detail where Sam's sister reprimands Sam for making their mom sad earlier in the film, and that she won't make breakfast for them anymore. And what is she making in her final scene? That's right. I love The Fabelmans so much. It's genuinely one of my favorite films of all time now, and it really affected me. It makes me want to make art. It makes me want to fulfill my dreams. It's cheesy, it's infectiously sincere, but that's what makes it so wonderful. Even though terrible things happen, the film is never cynical about it. As long as we can create, as long as we can do what we love, it'll always be okay. Also, David Lynch's cameo at the end is legendary, and I love how much his seemingly out there advice affects Sam. The final shot is beautiful. It's amazing how what makes Sam happy at the end isn't the chance to work in the film industry, it's getting advice about his art from an artist he respects. He learned something new about his passion. He got to hear about the perspective from a fellow artist, and that's what makes him content. That's cinema, baby. And that's every Crystal the Monkey movie ranked. Why is there still time left in the video? Well, any avid fan of Crystal the Monkey's beautiful filmography, which I'm sure is most of you, might be confused. Why are there only 25 films on this list? Well, that's because her 26th feature is not a film. It's something bigger. I simply couldn't include it on the list that includes 25 movies. It'd simply be unfair. Crystal's magnum opus is in a league of its own. It'd be insulting to compare it to even masterpieces like The Fabelmans. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, give it up for Monkey Up! Monkey Up changed my life, and it will change yours too. I have no idea how director Robert Vince directed both this and Treasure Buddies, because Monkey Up is so good Martin Scorsese would be jealous. I mean, Monty the Monkey is commonly considered one of fiction's greatest characters, and I would have to agree. This damn simian makes Zuko look like he has a bad arc. Arakawa and Miyazaki might as well pack it up, because the writers of Monkey Up have made them look like amateurs. Mary Pokernick, Robert Vince, Kirsten Hansen, and Anna McRobert should be immortalized in the stars themselves for the legendary script that they wrote for this masterclass. It is no surprise that Monkey Up won every single Oscar in 2017. The Academy looked at Moonlight and said, "We have Monkey Up." Robert Vince winning Best Director is such an obvious win it borders on comical. Caleb Burgers is one of the best leading actor wins in decades. John Ratzenberger winning Best Supporting Actor for his iconic Mr. Hearts performance was such a magical feeling. Erin Allen O'Reilly acted her ass off to get that Best Supporting Actress Oscar, and damn does she deserve it. And of course, there was the best moment of the 2017 Oscar night. People said she she couldn't do it. People kept saying that only humans can win Oscars, but I'm so glad the Academy listened to the people and finally gave Crystal the Monkey her Oscar for her mind-blowing performance as Monty the Monkey. We don't always see eye to eye, Academy, but this one time, you proved that you're based as fuck. Hell, Monkey Up committed blatant category fraud since it won Best Documentary, Best Short Film, Best International Feature, and Best Animated Feature, alongside both adapted and original screenplay. But who cares? It's Monkey Up. If one movie deserves a little category fraud as a treat, it's Monkey Up. Every human being on Earth needs to watch Monkey Up 2016. It is Crystal the Monkey, it is Monty riding a skateboard and driving a small car, it is the main villain being defeated by cum. It's incredible, and I simply can't describe its majesty with just words. It's something you need to see for yourself. But if you don't believe me about Monkey Up being the best movie ever, then why don't you take a listen to these completely unbiased testimonials?
I haven't seen Monkey Up, but yeah, best movie ever. So you just wanted me to say that, right?
Monkey Up is the greatest piece of film I've ever seen in my entire life. And I am not just saying that because it is scripted here and Allie hired a guy to kill me if I didn't read this out loud. So that certainly does help why I'm saying this. And anyone who disagrees otherwise hates movies. Alright, I did the thing. Now get the hell out of my house.
Oh, is this an interview? Oh, about Monkey Up. Yeah, I love that movie. It's so good. Like, you know that part where the monkey goes into a helicopter and goes like, talk about a low-budget flight, I'm out of here. Yeah, really good movie.
I really can't wait for the sequel, Monkey Up 2, The Monkey Goes Upper, directed by Martin Scorsese. And of course, I'm excited for Monkey Up 3, The Monkeys Go Uppest, directed by Steven Spielberg. It will be a couple of decades until they release, but I understand. You need all the time in the world to make a sequel that will live up to the legacy of Monkey Up 2016. But I am most excited for Monkey Up 4, The Monkeys Reach Heaven, directed by Crystal the Monkey herself. It'll be legendary. If you couldn't tell, this was supposed to be my April Fool's video for 2026 and it got a little bit delayed due to the script becoming much bigger than anticipated. But I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, subscribe, comment, like, all that garbage. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one where I talk about anything other than Crystal the Monkey. I love her, but my god. Bye!